Hey, y'all, and welcome to another episode of Catch That. I am Naturally Elise, and that's my bro.
They are.
And today we are welcoming the good brother Law. And most fans know Law as a singer, rapper, dancer, producer, and multi-instrumentalist. He's worked with greats like George Clinton, Amy Winehouse, Rihanna, Alicia Keys, Bruno Mars, Black Eyed Peas, Neo, Lionel Richie, Rick James, Shaka Khan, Morris Day, Natam, James Ingram, and Denise Williams, and that's just mentioning a few. So, welcome our brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm blessed. I'm excited, and I'm so happy to be here, y'all. I'm such a fan of y'all guys, as you already know, and just thank you for having me on the show. It's been a long time coming. I'm very excited. Thank you.
Yes, it has. I'm so excited because for real, this is, bro, you know, this is kind of my introduction to you because in 2014, you did a live of the album that we're going to talk about that's on your shirt. And you did a live about it. And now I love learning. I love learning. And I remember you did an hour and like 15 minutes talking about this album. And I remember me and you going back and forth. And you said, and this was in 2014, and we was going back and forth. And you was like, you know music. And you sent me and you said, you love Motown. And I said, yes. And you sent me your Motown medley. And from then,
oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
oh my God, wow.
You said that, and from that moment, I was just like, yo. And then after you told me your grandfather was BT Express, and you know that's one of my favorite bands, so I was like, from this dude is family, like for real, like
yeah. We really became like family over the years.
About music all the time. This dude on his timeline, like he gives you stories. If you want to learn, please follow him, and we're gonna give him all that stuff at the end, all that good stuff. But the one thing I love about this brother is he's in the music industry, but he does it his own way. He ain't industry. You ain't gonna tell him what to make, you ain't gonna tell him what to do. And me and Elise is that type. You ain't gonna tell us what the fuck to say, you ain't gonna tell us how to say it, when to say it, and whenever. And we have had celebrities on this show, and we said we don't like a song, and it ain't changed. Like, look, we love you, thank you, we appreciate, like, we look, the impact of the song, great. We just don't like it. Just because you like it, you ain't gonna make us like it. Like, that's not what we gonna do. No. So I was like, yo, bro, do his thing the way he wants to, and I gotta respect that. You know what I mean? Like, that's so beautiful. So I was like, sis, we gotta have Law on the show. So I was like, I know for one thing that we gonna talk about. I was like, yo, I want to talk about Marvin with him. She was like, oh, okay. So the first thing I did, I was like, bro, what do you want to talk about with Marvin? The first thing he said was, here, my dear. I said, why didn't know this? Why I didn't know this? I was like, of course. And this is my second favorite Marvin album. So we about to really go in. But bro, why did you pick Here, My Dear? What, like, explain, please.
Oh man. Okay. Well, before we even get into that, first of all, thank you for that intro. I love it. Thank you. Second of all, you know, a lot of fans always ask me, you know, when they, you know, I'm known for my list. I have a lot of different lists. I put up my top 5 favorite so-and-so albums or favorite singers or whatever. And I remember somebody had asked me, they was like, yo, Law, I noticed something. Not that you have to force anybody to be in your list, but how come you never mentioned Marvin in your list? I said, you know why? Because it's the same reason why I don't mention the Temptations when it comes to my favorite R&B groups. Because Marvin is pinnacle. Even after his death, you see it. You hear it in rap songs. I mean, nobody gets quoted more than Marvin.
Yep.
Listen to H-Town. Listen to some Marvin Gaye. Bobby Brown. Let's hear some Marvin Gaye.
Yep.
It's iconic on every level. And we ain't gonna even talk about the remix. So Marvin's such a vocal master of vocal mechanics, but yet the artistry of it is so simplistic due to his background when it came to doo-wop singing, thanks to, you know, the legendary Harvey Fuqua and the Moonglows. And for me, out of all the albums that Marvin did, because that's why I don't even count What's Going On, Let's Get It On, because those 2 albums set the foundation for the 70s. But Hear My Dear, and mind you, anybody can correct me if they're wrong. Whoever's going to be watching this, as you can correct me, let it be known. I stand to believe that Hear My Dear is really the first concept album dealing with marriage and divorce in terms of what really happened. Because you got to remember,
you're going that way. Okay,
you got to remember.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's keep it honest.
Right.
There were songs about let's get married, Al Green. We have songs about marriage, and then people talked about the pain of losing somebody or breaking up. But I don't think that nobody has ever spoken about attorney fees, alimony, all those things that Marvin took all the anguish and anger
Lying
of
to God.
everything that he was dealing with it and put it in a concept album. Right. So Hear My Dear, and then not only did he put it in an album, anybody can just make an album and just say what they want to say. Look, you see that now with mumble rap. You just say whatever you want, that's it. But the thing is just that
louder, please.
Marvin, yeah, that's a whole nother subject. But Marvin did it in a way where even though his intention was to make the most wackish record, which is true, he didn't put no real thought into it. So my thing is that when I first listened to it and I got into it, the first thing I said, well, damn, for somebody that intended to make a whack-ass album, this is my favorite Marvin album, because I found myself listening to it I was about 11 to 12, man. I found myself listening to it every other night. And I'm just like, okay, why am I putting this on as a long play? Because people forget it's a double album. So just the musical monsoons, if you will, for lack of a better phrase. Yeah. He went from straight jazz to funk to pop to R&B, and then when Is That Enough, straight gangsterly. Like he didn't even, for him to sit down there and say, that's a joke, I need a smoke. It just, Marvin was just an artist that bled so much of himself. I mean, he did it with every album, but Hear My Dear in particular, he literally took that artistry, in my opinion, to the next level. Because as we all know, Hear My Dear was not the big seller. It's funny because it's become more popular in the last 20 years. And may I shout out my besties, the lovely Janice Gaye and the lovely Norna Gaye. That's Norna's favorite album, believe it or not. That's actually what bonded me and her, when she read one of my posts the first time. It's like almost going back 10 years ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's her favorite. That in our lifetime, this is my second favorite Marvin album.
Yeah.
You really?
Yeah.
Really?
Because again, remember, I don't count what's going on and Let's Get It On. Now, once you can't argue with those.
That's true.
There's nothing to talk about. It's nothing. Those are masterpieces. And like I said, Hear My Dear is a masterpiece too, but in a single-handed notion, because of the popularity that it didn't get the first time,
right?
It makes it a standout. Even the illustration of the album cover had me, where you see that's why I love y'all. This is, I was hoping I got the shirt on, but y'all got the actual album right there. Oh my God! Look at the front. Look, put it up again. See, look, the front of it says "Love and Marriage," and then
Love
when
and
you flip
Marriage.
it,
Divorce.
Pain and Divorce, and the statues, David Crouch is on fire.
Yep. Yeah.
And
then the open board is a Monopoly game. Come on, man. This is on Marvin's heads that the illustrator had to put together. This is why I miss the 70s so much, because back then album covers worked and made you want to listen to the album.
Yep. It
made you, even if it wasn't a #1 seller, it made you want to listen. Yep. To what is he possibly going to be talking about, and shout out to my grandfather in heaven, because I didn't know the story before I started reading Motown books and seeing documentaries. Granddad's the one, because Granddad used to play with Janice's father, Slim Gilliard. They're buddies.
Ah, okay.
That's how me and Dan bonded.
Makes sense.
Because the first when he saw I was getting into Marvin, he used to be like, he said, I know Janice's father very well. Slim Gilliard, that's a bad motherfucker on guitar right there. And mind you, I'm just young. I didn't know. So then go through life, go to school. I hear the name come up. I'm like, oh shoot, Gramps was talking about, that's how I learned most stuff. I'm like, Gramps was talking about him. So basically, the whole mixture of that is an excitement to see Marvin put under pressure, not giving, because we all know the story behind it, not being able to give money. So all the proceeds of royalties will go to the next album. Marvin was pissed. So he took the anger, sadness, reminiscing factor, whatever vices he had going, because we all know Marvin had his thing. And he basically went into the studio and created Hear My Dear. So long story short, that remains my favorite and the album that I studied. I studied all Marvin albums to a T, but that is one album that I find myself running to more than all the other Marvin albums, without question.
Yeah, same thing. I was telling bro, I was like, I was saying, this would be a very honest, transparent moment. So for the interview, I thought it was an hour later that we were talking to you. So I had planned to listen to the album again 1 hour before, even though I listened to it this morning. But I was saying, good thing that this is an album that I listened to a lot. Like I definitely listened. I think the only other Marvin album I listened to just as much as I Want You. Because for one, I Want You is a great background album when you're doing other things or other things. It's great. It's great for that, you know.
It is.
It just is.
It is. No, you're right. You're right. I love you, sis. No. I tell Jan all the time. I Want You is the Janice album. That's what I call it. Because remember, at that point, him and Janice was on a. I mean, if you read the book, you already know. I ain't got to.
You already, yeah. Oh yeah. Listen. When you listen, you know that album is dedicated and inspired by her. Period. Right.
Janice album, yeah. I call it.
It bugs me out because a lot of people go to Let's Get It On, not even knowing that's not really a sexual album like that. The image was like that, but it wasn't a sexual album.
Except for You Sure Love to Ball.
That's it.
Because we already know what he was talking about. So
yeah. So we all know, this was the album Marvin didn't promote and all that. So it didn't, I think it went to like 26 maybe. Or something. But
vaguely, the fact that you even remember the number is baffling to me. I saw different numbers at different times. I could be wrong. Yeah. I have no problem with being wrong.
But like I said, it didn't make a whole lot of noise.
No.
But why do you think it was so, but it also was panned horribly by the critics? And so in your opinion, just
honestly,
I know the answer, but tell people why you think,
Honestly, this is going to be a two-parter in that question, because here's the thing. I personally feel that it got panned because, with no disrespect, matter of fact, let me change that. Not counting y'all, not counting me, not counting all our other counterparts that know what's up when we get into a room and we have these type of discussions. But music critics, ones that don't know, because they're gonna always, and in the 70s, because everything was all about, okay, but what's the hit? What's the hit? What's the hit? What's the hit? Marvin is the first person, in retrospect, if you want to be technically honest, he's the first artist to really technically challenge the artistry mindset, because up until he did What's Going On, until he did that, everything on most labels, with the notable exception of James Brown, he's the only exception. Okay. Everybody had to follow suit with what the label wanted. Whereas Marvin was like, listen, my brother's in the Vietnam War fighting the war that's pointless. I want to talk about it. We all know that story already. So the whole thing is that I think that when Marvin began to achieve the artistry notation and records were going #1, Let's Get It On, What's Going On, I Want You was in top 5, top 10, whatever. I just think that critics found it more fun to say, oh, well, he's yesterday's news. This new guy from Philadelphia, you know who we're talking about. Mm-hmm. He's like the thing right now. And of course, and to be honest, Teddy Pendergrass was definitely
the man.
Not in the competition since, but more so because Motown was failing, unfortunately, with the exception of the Commodores and a couple other groups. They were failing altogether as a promotion and marketing, and they were not the flavor of the month. Whereas Philly International was giving, they were throwing haymakers.
Yes, they were.
Not Teddy, but with 3 Degrees, Patty, the blows were getting thrown. So it's almost like now here's Marvin with a masterpiece of an album, but he's talking about his divorce and his marriage. So to most critics, it's like, well, we don't want to hear about that. We want to hear songs about, you know, we want to, you know, we want to hear about making love. Like, what about your last record? Or better yet, why don't you do another disco record? Like, because matter of fact, if you want to get technical,
I was gonna say people want to
his
dance.
last hit was what? Got to Give It Up, which was on the double of the London Palladium.
The London Palladium, yeah.
So Marvin, and then mind you, and some people be like, well, he got lucky with that. Whatever. I mean, if people want to believe that, so, but you gotta remember, for diehard fans like us, it's never about luck to me. I believe that when an artist already has proven himself the way Marvin had already did, it's like,
okay,
you know, comes out with this record, and then all of a sudden it comes, we don't want to hear this. We don't want to hear this. It's like, okay, this is a horrible record. We're gonna write it off. So that's the part one. And part two, of course, is because everybody was running after the flavor who was hot right now. And then, of course, you know, if you look at one of Marvin's later interviews, he talked about it, actually. He even mentioned Prince, because Prince that came out in what, 79, 80, 80. And he had a thing with that. So Marvin had this thing where it's like, okay, y'all like these guys, but I'm the original. So that, and which is true. But the thing was just that everybody was like, yeah, Marvin, we love you, but you kind of doing this sort of thing. Whereas people like us that know music, we saw the beauty in our lifetime in Hear My Dear, because those are masterpiece recordings. So I truly believe that those critics didn't know. They just were so focused on Marvin getting the next Got to Give It Up or give us another Let's Get It On record or that kind of thing.
Yeah, so. and also, and Gerald, I say this all the time, probably every show and every day, is people want their artists in this box. And they don't want to, usually they will not jump when an artist starts doing something new. They don't immediately jump on it. Even the greatest of our stars, you know, sometimes they catch on after a while, or, you know, they finally catch on, but like, oh, we was always on this. Not true. So,
thank you.
and one thing when we talked to Zoe said, if you want to hear a song like whatever, then go listen to whatever.
Jay-Z
we made it. Put it on repeat.
Yeah.
Like, or if you don't like our 2-minute song, put it on repeat. Play it again. Like, you know, the artistry was there. Trust your artists. You love them. You've seen them repeatedly make great product and innovate and do things. Trust them to where they're going. And if you don't, now if you get there and you just don't like it, you just don't like it, and that's just what it is.
I agree.
And see if maybe the next project you with it, or maybe over time you be like, oh, I see what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. You know, like, cause you know, somebody that was actually talking about. See, I love, bro, how you talked about how Marvin actually took us to the courtroom.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He took us in there with him. We was in the depositions with him. You know what I mean? But somebody like a Bob Dylan, when he came out with Blood on the Tracks, right? Talking about his wife, Sarah. You know what I'm saying? He did that.
Talk that, bro. You know you talk that.
You better talk your shit.
I'm a big Bob Dylan fan, so that works. Oh my God, we're brothers. We're really brothers.
Come on. Wow. So, you know, and he did that. His fans and the audience didn't like it either.
Nope.
Because they were so used to him it's folk, but they like, we don't want to hear this. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to hear Idiot Wing. We don't want to, you know what I'm saying? If you see her say hello, we don't want to hear that shit. Like, we want to hear Bob Dylan. Like, we want to hear Blowing in the Wind. We want to hear that. Like, we don't want to hear that. So when he came out with Hear My Dear, to me, it was just like, yo, we just came off of I Want You, right? Then you gave us a hit with Got to Give It Up. So
a great live album, by the way. Great live album.
Right, a great live album, great. Then amazing. You give us this. And it's like, for me, I love it because it's emotional as hell. And y'all know I'm an emotional motherfucker, so I loved it. So,
same here.
So I loved it. So when I heard it, I was like, I felt like, to me, and bro, what do you feel about this? I feel like artistically, in my opinion, this brings me back to when Marvin did Trouble Man. And I tell you why. Because I feel like Trouble Man, to me, was Marvin being him. He didn't have to worry about Ed Thompson. He didn't have to worry about Leon Ware. It was just him. So when you get to Hear My Dear, he don't got nobody. Yeah, he got a couple of joints that Ed and them gave to him, but it's Marvin in Marvin's room by himself, his thoughts, and like, that's it. You know what I mean? He ain't got to worry about, okay, maybe Arthur might give me a song here. You know what I mean? Ed might give me a song here. This is all his story. And like Gladys said in her interview, Marvin was an artist. He was always creative. He always was thinking about something. Mm-hmm. Like when he back in the 60s, Marvin would be like, yo, just let me play drums. I don't give a damn. I don't got to do nothing. Let me just play drums. You know what I mean? Like,
Speaking of that, bro. Yeah. It's a lot of people that don't give Marvin the props of the fact that he played instruments. I think it's a lot of people that don't even know.
No, they don't. Nope. No, they do not.
Because they'll start talking about somebody else. Well, Marvin didn't do what? You try again. Let's start over.
Hey, that's him on Dancing in the Streets. That's him playing drums.
Thank you. Like Marvin was an artist. Like this dude was like, fine, I ain't gotta sing. Just let me play drums. Let's let me do this. Let's let me do that. Hell, I'll give you a hand clap in the song. Like, I don't care. Like, that's me. So when I heard Hear My Dear, that's why I was like, it gave me Trouble Man vibes, because Trouble Man is completely Marvin. Him, that's it. Or maybe I'm wrong. You're
gonna laugh. That's why I was holding it in. I wanted to let you get it out. But Trouble Man is actually my third favorite urban movie soundtrack of all time.
Really?
Watch this. Yeah, of course, Superfly and Shab comes first too, but Trouble Man, that's only one. Everybody else comes after that. But the thing is that Trouble Man, I put even more on a pinnacle level than What's Going On and Let's Get It On. I'm gonna tell you why.
Ooh,
watch. No, and not so much.
Talk to me.
And I'm gonna tell you why. Because just like you said, Trouble Man is the ultimate, complete musical side of who Marvin is.
Facts.
The jazz, the blues, the Cleo's Apartment interlude with just the harmonies. You see, I told you I was going to go there because you got to remember the sonics in that, and not to mention, all the songs go one after the other. There are no breaks in between. Even the very last thing, where it's pretty much still Trouble Man, but it's in different variations, where T stands for trouble. The orchestration, even the way that shit is, just an echo. To me, now I'm a scorer. I score different projects and things like that. So as you know, I live for being able to come up with a lot of different orchestrations and different things in terms of using strings on the backbeat of raw bass and guitar, or Fender Rhodes keyboards, or electric piano, like kind of like what he was using during the Trouble Man soundtrack. And I promise you, bro, that whole album, the same way how I did Hear My Dear, Trouble Man was an album that I would literally put on to go to sleep at night. Because musically, because remember, it's not a whole bunch. He's only singing really in terms of lyrics. It's only Trouble Man.
That's it.
On that, poor Albie Wise, he just sings 3 lines. He's not really singing per se. And this is, to me, Marvin exercised his total, complete musical freedom with that record that had nothing to do with him being the Marvin Gaye, the singer, because they're all encompassed with each other. But there's 2 mediums. Marvin, remember, when he came to Motown, I know you know this, but for people that don't know. Marvin did not want to do R&B. Marvin was all about Nat King Cole, like Ray Charles was. Ray Charles wanted to do that sort of thing, and they's like, well, listen, you're creating something that's totally different from the guys that you listen to. And Berry Gordy was like, listen, Stubborn Kind of Fellow, because remember, it was a blues song first. It wasn't none of that say yeah stuff. It was a regular. And Berry Gordy, the genius that he is, he's like, now see, Marvin, you got a great thing there, like he always did with everybody. You got a great thing there, but why don't we try putting that little, you know, that timing on it. Let's put that Motown bop on it.
Right.
And Marvin had his first hit, but Marvin, as he always said, he didn't want to shake his ass. That's what he always said. I didn't want to shake my ass. He said, so eventually when he finally started to shake his ass with Hitchhike and Can I Get a Witness and all these other different early Motown records that followed the template of what the Motown sound was in the early 60s, Marvin still had a certain thing of how he caressed the song vocally. So musically, we didn't get a chance to really experience that. So when he finally fought for his freedom and won, Trouble Man to me was the album that he always wanted to make, very similar to Aretha doing Amazing Grace, the album that she always wanted to do in terms of, my gospels have always been on display, but now I'm going back home. I'm going to my church and I'm going to record the album that I promised my father that once I became successful, this is what I would do. So Marvin said, now that I done gave you what's going on, let's get it on. Now that I gave you that, guess what else I'm gonna do? I'm going to do an album that is totally me. I don't care if it makes the charts, it's for scoring for a movie. I'm just going to set up this piano and I'm going to create. Yeah. So I had to get that out because
that's true. That's true though, because it was like in the 60s again. And it's so crazy because I think you know that and everybody know I love Marvin's 60s more than I do 70s. But I love him artistically in the 70s because he was able to be Marvin.
Marvin, yeah.
I like the Motown sound. I love the Funk Brothers. I love them. Like, that's me.
All hail the Funk Brothers. Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, Marvin was able to be his own artist in the 70s. So he was able to do what he wanted to do. And I felt like what's going on, as much as that's my favorite Marvin album, period, I just also feel like Marvin wanted to write that back in 65, but Barry told him no. He said, no, I don't. He said, Marvin, are you crazy?
Look,
like,
bottom line, look, I've said it in every interview that I've probably ever done. You know, I get asked those questions very often about what is the greatest. I say it all the time. You see me say it. What's going on is not only the greatest R&B pop album of all time, but it's also the most relevant, the most important. And I put that on anything. No disrespect to Michael and Usher and everybody who we all love, but to me, because it's prophecy 50-something years ago. We're still dealing with what Marvin put in that paper, especially the third verse. Crime is increasing, trigger happy police. You wouldn't even, I mean, just when I sing it, you gotta laugh. To this day, when I do it in my show, I get emotional when I sing it because it's almost like, and when I say that part, I throw names up in there. I do a breakdown. When I say Trigger Happy Police, and I shout out Michael Brown, I shout out all of the people who we've lost. And people understand. I said, was Marvin the prophet or what? And then people like, wow. I said, y'all gotta understand something. This is not, it may be new to some of y'all people, but it ain't new over here.
It ain't new.
You know what I mean? Like, it ain't new over here. So you got to understand that Marvin chose what Stevie Wonder would later say. And Philip Bailey said he always adopted his philosophy. He ever said that we as artists have a responsibility and a right to speak to the people and for the people. Marvin gave Stevie that battery that he needed, which is why we got Where I'm Coming From, which is the counterpart.
The counterpart. What's going on. People don't talk about it.
That's my third favorite Stevie album.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's in my top 5. Think of me as a soldier alone. That's a whole other conversation.
Oh yeah, that album is definitely in my
El DeBarge.
Stevie top.
I was gonna say that's El DeBarge's favorite Stevie Wonder album. Me and him had a conversation at BB King's, and Chico was like, "I know Law." He told me one time, the time he's on social media, said, "I know Law know about this." I said, "Chico, don't start, bro." You know, Chico. You know, they're diehard Marvin Stevie fans. They're diehard, so it's almost like us. So it's very much the concept of that. But Marvin put the battery in the back of Stevie Wonder in terms of that. I think Stevie was always around in the same way how the Jackson was always around Stevie. That's why it's no surprise that both Michael and especially Jermaine would do a lot of work with Stevie because they were all encompassing on every level of what they were learning. But Marvin started the engine with what's going on. If he hadn't done that album, they wouldn't have had that.
Bro? Like you really, because for me, Yeah, go ahead, because you're smiling because he said something that you liked, at least.
Oh no, me and JR have a running like
No,
feud and joke because I love Jermaine Jackson and he can't stand Jermaine.
hold up, wait, hold up. See, what we not gonna do. See, what we not gonna do. But see, you don't. I'm not gonna play this. I don't have it plugged up anyway. But here's the thing. You gotta understand. But you know this already about me.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, sis. I am and will forever be. Because you gotta remember, drums is my first instrument.
Yeah.
Guitar is my main instrument. But Jermaine Jackson, before I discovered Larry Graham, who is his hero too, before I discovered the nastiest bass players who they all talk about, Jermaine is the reason why I picked up my grandfather's purple Ibanez bass and nobody was touching in the house. The uncanny ability to be able to play bass lines that were written and played by the Funk Brothers. Jermaine is 16 years old.
Yep.
Not only singing his ass off, but playing and not missing a note and have to do the steps. And he balances between baritone and second tenor. When Marvin's voice finally got up there, when Marvin's voice finally matured, he took his place. But the thing is, this guy, I mean, that's another conversation, but here's the thing. You know, Marvin is Jermaine's hero. I don't know if you knew that or not. That's his hero. That's
I didn't know that.
See, this is why Lord's here.
Really?
This is why Lord's here.
I did not know
Marvin is
Hi,
Jermaine's idol.
Wow.
Yeah. Read Michael. I mean, first of all, I didn't even read it in Michael's book. My uncle told me this already. But even in Michael's book, Michael's favorite singer is Jermaine, not James Brown. James Brown's his favorite performer.
That I knew.
Because he said, this is what Michael said. Michael said, as much as people loved my voice back then, I wasn't crazy about my voice. I wanted a voice like my brother because Jermaine was 16 years old, sounding damn near a grown man. Listen to I Found That Girl.
Yeah.
Mama, not for me now is a new sensation. Like he's singing, you know, it's a higher key than that. But the way he sang that shit, it's a certain maturity to his voice that Michael didn't have. That's why their balance worked so well. You got to think about it.
Yeah.
Balance works so well on those Jackson 5 records when they split leads. Because Jermaine just had this way of pulling you in too. And Michael's we already know Michael's going to be the main factor of the song. Right. But Jermaine gave the grown man interjection.
Like Johnny did.
Like Johnny did for New Edition.
Like Johnny did for New Edition. And then here's another person that we don't talk about either. Like Kyrie did for The Boys.
Oh yeah.
When I think about you, baby, what you hear. Yeah. That's grown man. Because he's the older brother. So it's almost like I'm giving the sexy, snazzy older brother magnetism. See, Jackie could have did it, but Jackie's voice he's the first tenor. He's high. Yeah. He's the oldest brother with the highest voice. That's why I love Jackie. So going back to Jermaine. Jermaine is a Marvin student. Every interview that I've ever seen Jermaine do, even back then, I read some Right On magazine clippings back in the day. Yeah. And he always said, you know, Marvin and Stevie are my idols, especially Marvin. He said, because I really wanted to sound like Marvin. That's why he chose certain songs, even on certain records that he did. Remember, Jermaine had a hit with his version of Ain't That Peculiar on the second Motown album.
Yeah.
See? So, I mean, that's another story, but I'm diehard Jackson. I love all six anyway, but Jermaine is definitely, without question, my second favorite Jackson for those reasons, for bass reasons, and just vocally, just who he is as a singer, as a producer. And when we talk about that, to me, he doesn't get enough credit for what he did in that last period, and especially when he became a star in the 80s that had actual hits. So when people are like, oh, Michael's the most successful Jackson, I said, well, he is, but he's not the only successful Jackson. Let's talk true. Even if you don't like him, you gotta talk true. It's like
Now you know, absolutely.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Law. But back to
no problem. I had to get that out because I'm just like, what?
I needed that because he gives me a hard time.
Of course,
man. Keep loving Jermaine. I'm a Jermaine fanatic. We'll do that for another show, probably.
We can. So I got a question because we was talking about the what's going on and how Marvin kind of was the blueprint of it all, right? Mm-hmm. Do you feel as though that Donnie and Roberta should get more of that before Marvin, and Marvin only got a lot of that because of him being with Motown, and he had a bigger push, and Roberta and Donnie was more of the newcomers. Because if you listen to First Take, right, she's speaking that shit. If you listen to Donnie's, you know what I'm saying, everything is everything.
Everything is everything.
Doing that. You know what I mean? But Marvin gets all of it, and they get none. And it kind of bothers me as much as I love Marvin, but I feel like, damn, like, what about them?
I'm gonna get even deeper on you right now. Watch this.
Okay.
So I agree to that extent definitely with Donnie's Everything Is Everything. It's my second favorite Donnie album, number one. Shout out to Layla, love you. Number one, that's big sis. You know, I got to shout out. But you're right, definitely that. But also, in addition to Roberta and Donnie, if you want to get technical, there's one person that was doing that sort of vibe.
I know where you going.
Before Marvin did, which proves your point about Motown being the bigger label. You're right about that. I know. So it's not so much that we say, oh, he's first. It's just a matter of he got the attention that the other two entities didn't. They got it, but not in the same light as how Motown pushed. Because remember, their marketing, Motown's marketing began to suck around 73, 74.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's
but
real.
The credit, I'm going to say, only above Martin, not so much of not artistry, just more so because of who did what first. I say it all the time. It's one thing to have an opinion, it's nothing to know information, but we're going to get technical.
Okay.
Curtis motherfucking Mayfield.
I knew it. I knew he was going to say the impressions. I knew
We're a winner.
I knew it.
Keep on pushing.
Yeah.
People get ready.
Yeah.
I mean, mind you, his solo career, he took it even further. I mean, not just the Superfly soundtrack, but just the first Curtis album. If there's Heaven Below, we're all gonna go. And then of course, yeah, Choice of Colors.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You know, it's so Curtis was always on that. But here's the thing about Curtis. That's what I said. I'm kind of backtracking now. Curtis actually did have the push. And remember, he had his own label. He had Curtis. Yep. So around that time. So he definitely put them around you. People get ready. Those were hits. Those are classics. Those are hits. Yeah. But I think because Marvin had to fight, unlike Curtis. I could be wrong. I never heard stories about Curtis fighting to push the medium of what him and the Impressions were talking about. Whereas Marvin, as we all know, publicly had to fight.
Had to claw his way. Yeah.
He had to claw his way. Smokey Robinson even told Berry, yo, you're wrong, dude. This album is fire. So my thing is that Curtis, I don't think he had that kind of, and like I said, hopefully if there's a documentary that ever comes out about him, we'll probably learn more about Curtis's. I'm close to his son, Curtis Mayfield III. That's my boy. So I probably might ask him when I get a chance to. But without question, Curtis was already promoting those kind of message and ideals for civil rights in his music before Marvin did. But much to Sis' point, she made a very good point. Marvin probably had a lot of this stuff in his notebook the same way how the Jacksons was already writing songs by the time they did the Skywriter album. But Motown was like, no, we don't want to hear it. We just want you to record. Just go in the studio and record these songs. That was it. So, and now mind you, the only reason why Jackson 5 got that into the stick is because they were still kids, whereas Marvin was a grown-ass man at this point by the 1970s. So it's like, he was like, okay, if you don't put up this record, I'm not recording for y'all again. And they didn't want that. So basically,
the same thing with the Temptations. You didn't get those political records till later. They couldn't do that.
Cloud 9 is my favorite Temptations.
They had to do this for, a decade.
That's my favorite. Cloud 9 is my favorite Temptations record. And mind you, real quick shout out to Norman Whitfield. Got to shout him out. You know why? Because
not get the respect.
Norman was the one. Yes, Norman was the one. And even though they hated him for it after a while, but of course, as they got older, they've learned. Like Otis says all the time, he said, "Thank God for that crazy motherfucker." He said, because guess what? On the cutting edge. See, unlike most producers, Norman was in the streets. Norman went to the clubs to hear Funkadelic. Whoa ha hey, whoa ha ha. That's why you hear at the end of Running Child, Running Wild.
Yeah,
you hear that at the end because Norman Whitfield was hanging out with Sly and George, and he came back and told Berry, you ain't hear Sly and the Family Stone yet? Yeah, I've been hearing about it. He said, you got to hear this cut dance to the music. You see what they doing with the multi-layering vocal? We got to start doing stuff like that. That's why if you notice on the song Hot Fun in the Summertime, what's the line that Rosie says? I climb now when I want to. That was a nod to the Temptations saying, I know you still in my shit, but we gonna let it ride.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh, Sly, look, yeah, as you know, so that's another Sly's a man, as you know, Sly, that's another song.
Oh,
Sly's a mastermind. Sly knew that what was the name of the first album? A Whole New Thing.
A whole new thing, yep.
Sly knew that he was bringing something different than what James and Motown was doing. He put all of it in one basket and came out with a whole nother fucking hybrid. It had the right musicians. So going back to Norman Whitfield, Norman was smart enough to say, this is where we need to be going. And fortunately for Barry actually listened. That's the reason why we got Psychedelic Shack and Take a Stroll Through Your Mind and Hum Along and Dance. And he started signing groups like Rare Earth, which is an all-white funk band. Rare Earth. I just want to celebrate. So it's almost like Norman Whitfield also gets that kind of credit because who did he last produce before he did that record? Marvin Gaye. Remember, I heard through the grapevine. Yeah, that was Marvin's last quote unquote big hit before he went into that depression spin after Tammy Terrell died in his arms.
Yeah.
And then that's when he decided, fuck this. From this point on, I'm doing the kind of shit that I want. It was all like, what they call it, domino effect. It was like a domino effect. Yeah. After the other, he was just like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to
let him do what. They only let Marvin do what? Abraham, Martin, and John. That was the only thing they let Marvin do. That's it. He wanted to do other shit, and they didn't want. We'll give you that. He like the fuck.
Marvin was the rebel. He didn't go to charm school for Motown. He didn't go. Everybody else went. He didn't like.
No, he didn't.
He said charm. The hell? Bobby Fuqua was like my father. Right. Class.
And we all learning from him.
I know how to sit in a chair. I know how to hold my martini when I drink. Like Marvin was smooth.
Yeah. So on this album, can we talk? Let's talk about what is my favorite song on the album.
Okay.
JR knows what my favorite song.
Oh yeah.
Because it's actually my favorite Marvin song as well.
Yeah. Really? I'm curious now.
Sparrow.
Oh God. It's first song on side 3.
The last 2 minutes of Sparrow is fucking bananas. Okay?
You see me shaking my head.
It's
come on, sis. Come on. Talk about
really
it.
Like I goosebumps, like emotional. I can run it on repeat, and it's still each time on repeat. It's just all of like envelops my whole being. Like it's.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna go there. I knew you were gonna go there.
I mean, shit.
That song is so beautiful. Like beautiful is not even a good word, and I can't even give you a word. And I'm a writer, an actual writer, and I can't even. I'm just like.
that song, like you said, the last 2 minutes of that song, it gives you I got chills just talking about it. Like for real, like that song is
like that song. That song is not even. It's not even fair.
Mind you, that's right after Time to Get It Together, because that's another one of my favorites. That is another one of my favorites on that album. Like Marvin was on his shit. Like to go into an album like this and was like, I'm gonna make a bullshit ass album because my ex-wife is about to get the royalties off this shit. Let it be a horrible album. Then you start making the album and start getting in your feelings. So the real shit start coming out. It's like, man, what the fuck? She taking all my motherfucking money like he going in. And it's like how do you have a song where he's talking about he's throwing out the years he met her. You know what I'm saying? He's like 64, right?
64, yeah.
That's when they met. Then he goes and tells you the story and goes down the line. Then he goes to 1976. And it's like, this dude is in his bag. And we don't want to get into anger. Even though Ed helped him with that one. Ed Thompson.
It doesn't matter.
Anger was one of the singles off of the album.
I mean, it has a little, you know.
No, I'm just saying it's one of the singles.
And I think everybody.
Because they only had 2 singles. Yeah.
Because they was trying to find a single off the album.
Yeah,
the album just don't have a single.
It don't.
The
songs is long. So
but I'm like, Motown should have already known by then that they were kind of like on the way out, because Philly was dominating. So I think they was trying to compete with that. And it's like, wait a minute, you got Stevie and Marvin that's coming out back to back, bringing you bodies of work. Like, you just coming off of Stevie's songs in the Key of Life. You know what I mean? Like, hello, like.
Remember they also had Stevie Life of Plants, and they ain't know what to do with that. So,
well,
because you can't do that with because they're concept albums. You know what I'm saying?
Because they
ain't made for singles. I mean, it did have a big single, but but that's not what them albums are made for.
Right, and Stevie was following suit, if you want to get technical, because what Plants was to Stevie, what Trouble Man was to Marvin.
Oh yeah,
the artistic version of doing an album that had very little vocal stuff happening, but the majority of that was experimentation, orchestration. Stevie in the studio with 5 different keyboard racks trying to figure out how to do environmental percussion, which he would later use on the 80s stuff that he did, which I love even more. So the thing is that Stevie already kind of added on a lot of those sort of things to make it even prescribed. That's what he was like, why do I hear that noise and overjoy in the beginning? I said, because by that point, Stevie was digital before digital was digital. You gotta remember that. Stevie was already thinking ahead in the future before it became that. But going back to what you said about till we hear your song.
Why don't you sing the
Then it goes. Then it's the other part of just him. I remember
and then he just started vocalizing, and
you can tell he was having fun doing the vocals because they interplay so much between each other, and not to mention his electric piano playing on that song. If you listen closely, that's him playing.
Oh my God.
I just it's my number 2 song off of that record. I ain't gonna tell you what number 1 is yet. So for a lot of different reasons.
Well, my favorite is It Enough? That's my favorite, period, off this album, because I'm being a little nosy, you know what I'm saying? I'm just, it is. I mean, shit, Marvin is listen, he like, why I gotta pay attorney fees? Is this shit a joke? Like,
no, what about the other lyric? What he said? What could I do? The judge says she's got to live the way she's accustomed to. I'm like, ooh.
What?
I said, that, imagine, it made me understand court terminology even more as a kid. I started putting things together. I'm like, that's what that means. Okay. So it's
don't do no more. Like it had you thinking about learning more about the court system just in that alone. You know what I mean? Like
Marvin wasn't scared to talk about it. And then the thing is that when he gets to the part of I need to smoke, you imagine him smoking during that whole instrumental period.
I feel like when Marvin's doing that, I'm sitting right by him. You know what that song reminds me of, to be honest with you?
What?
I feel like when I hear that song, I gotta hear Inner City Blues. Because for me, I'm sitting by him in a 1971 Cadillac, Pontiac, whatever, and he's riding you through the hood. And he's riding the mainstream people through the hood. Mm-hmm. This is what's going on, motherfucker.
Yeah, he's talking his shit.
Yes. Yeah. And you riding with him. You know what I'm saying? He's taking the whites in there and saying, look, y'all, this is what we do.
That's a good analogy of like, I'm taking the Main Street people, like, yo.
I'm taking y'all through this. So I felt like Marvin was doing
I want you to see it through my eyes.
Well, it's kind of like Boy with Ziggy Stardust.
Yes. That's
you know, it takes you on that ride where it's like you're able to conceptualize Starman or Lady Stardust, and then he gets to rock and roll suicide, where he basically, Ziggy commits suicide. But
oh my God.
Don't get me started on a Bowie now.
Oh, well, I told my Bowie story on my Plan 12 stories handle. I told my
yes, you did. You did. Yes.
So it's like you already know how I feel about Bowie. I ain't gotta even say that. But you're right. I would say more so my number one song on there. It's gonna blow your mind. Now, of course, I love all those songs y'all pick, because with an album like this, it's always hard to pick a favorite. But I had to be honest with myself. Which song really stuck out to me the most, that just had my whole face in a thing? And I have to say,
don't do it.
And I'm falling in love again.
I'm done with
fall in love again. I'm falling in love again.
I'm done.
Because that whole the intro, I could probably play the intro to that shit.
Come on, give us a concert.
He's like, damn it, I don't have it plugged in.
You know why? Because when that shit comes on, the funk is just bleeding through that song, and it has a Latin feel. And then you hear Marvin playing. He's playing the synth. Now, you probably didn't pay attention. I'm gonna blow your mind real quick, since we're both Janet fans. Ready for this?
Okay.
If you listen, remember the Velvet Rope tour?
Yeah.
If you listen closely.
I was at that tour.
Oh, me too. But if you listen closely, remember when they did Rope Burn?
Yeah.
If you listen to the end, that's Fall in Love Again. Boom, boom, oh, burn. Except for the horns, but the keyboard part, the keyboard player is playing the keyboard line that Marvin does in Fall in Love Again. When you get a chance, go look at the one from Madison Square Garden, the one that went public.
No, you just
go back and listen to it.
That's I'm at the end and I'm hearing that. What?
Because remember, on the studio version, it just ends. It's no backup.
That's it.
So not only is that song my favorite for many reasons. First, I just gave you the part. It's funk, Latin. Marvin is really getting into his bag like he always does with harmonies. So just to, fall in love again, fall in love again. Like that's that doo-wop shit. Like he's doing all these different patterns, and then just when you think the song doesn't increase to that part, it goes, I love, boom, boom. And it just stays there. That's the life forever. And it's just like, and it fades out. And it's like, I don't want this song to end. And last but not least, because here's the interesting thing about that song, because it's pretty obvious to see who he was talking about when he said he was falling in love again, which is, of course,
yes.
But here's the interesting part.
Wasn't they going through it during that time?
That's you took the words out of my mouth. There you go. The interesting part about that is that even though, because of course the love never changed between them, as you read the book and as she said many times.
Yeah.
But it was still tumultuous because of so many different factors and things that Jan talked about in the book. Things that I already knew and then things I didn't know. I was like, oh, okay, so that makes a lot of more sense.
Yeah.
But even during that period, with him having hope and ending the album on a great note, like, well, I'm in love again now. I done got rid of Anna. I'm not dealing with Anna no more. I'm here. But now there's still trouble in paradise, because right around the time when he finally was able to, well, matter of fact, let me take that back, because In Our Lifetime was released unfinished, believe it or not.
And he was pissed.
He was
very
pissed
about it. They did some shit musically that he did not like.
Mind you could tell, because Far some songs were finished, but Far Cry wasn't finished.
It don't sound like it though. It don't.
But Snoop Dogg took it and made it a hit though.
Okay.
Yo, Snoop Dogg flipped it though. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
he
shit.
did.
I like what he did with that. I love Snoop. Snoop be knowing, man.
Oh yeah, he's a music head for reals.
Yeah, he is.
For real.
He is. He be. That's why I love him. He be knowing. That's my gang with him all day.
Yes.
But you're right though. But that's my favorite song off of Hear My Dear, because the whole Latin part of it, Marvin just went somewhere different, but he maintained the funk, kept the doo-wop and the soulful part of it. And not to mention that keyboard solo with his is kind of crazy in that bridge. It's just a hybrid. So to me, out of all the songs in that record, it just kind of, it grabbed me. I mean, all the songs grabbed me, but not like that one. That one just kind of. And
then after that song, it goes into the reprise. And instead of when did you stop loving me, when did I stop loving you?
Stop loving you. Y'all some music nerds.
Speak for yourself, nigga.
This my album,
yes,
yo.
We are. Yes,
bro,
we
this
are.
is my album.
Yes, like that's what I knew when I was like, logo. I was like, we gonna talk about.
When
he told me that's what you picked, I was like, ah.
Well, because I mean, listen, look, y'all, you know, we're. This is why I love y'all show so much, because you know, it's very rare, at least for me it is. I don't know how it is for y'all during the course of. It's rare for me, especially in this day and age, to find a lot of people, because I get criticized for it, and bro knows this, because people used to be like, I said, listen, man, don't hate on me because I'm preserving culture. Look, ain't like none of y'all are doing it.
Word.
So my thing is that they get mad at us for talking about it, because I've always, like you said earlier, I've always said that the reason why people do listen to someone like me is because, not only because of my legendary background, because mind you, that don't mean shit either. If you want to get honest.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody don't. If your talent and your credibility has not spoken for you in some fast shape or form, nobody's going to care who your uncle or your mother or your grandfather is.
That's
now,
real.
thank God, I'm fortunate that my pedigree matches that, and then I've separated that part of its own. But when we talk about an album like Hear My Dear, it's only because us internal ears. I discovered you know how I discovered the album? I discovered that album, believe it or not, through two people. Grandfather had his collection, but I had never listened to it at that point. Remember, I'm 11 and 12 years old at this point.
Yeah. My
mother's friend, this is a white hippie teacher. I can't think of his name. My mother's how I'll probably ask her. But so she used to tell me, he's like, yeah, your son really likes a lot of R&B. He said, Lawrence likes collecting out. He put him in a room by himself. If it ain't a video game or a music documentary, Law will sit there with his guitar in front of things. And he's like, well, I got a bunch of cassettes here I want to give to him, because I have double copies of this. So that's actually the first time he gave me that. I said, wait a minute. My grandfather had his face say, oh, it's a great album. Well, you should listen to it. You know, Marvin talks about his marriage. I'm like, Marvin's married? You know, I'm still learning. So I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. So, because by that point, he was already gone by it. He was already, deceased. But between that cassette and then my grandfather remember, I had the original Motown reissue cassette that didn't have the original artwork in it. Remember those cassettes?
Oh,
with the blue cover, they only had the picture in the middle. Oh, look, I told you, I'm old school. I said, so I had that version of it. So thank God for my grandfather. When I moved back to the West Coast to start playing with my granddad and touring with him, of course, record collection right there, over 800 records of vinyl. And I have it. I finally get a chance to look into it. And that's when I began to really study it. And speaking of Sparrow, that's my second favorite song on the record. So my Uncle Bobby noticed how I kept listening. He said, you like that record, huh? I'm like, yeah, this sounds like a lot of jazz. He said, yeah, that is jazz. Marvin was very much in it. Oh, okay. So that makes a lot of sense now. So it made me go back, like it should do for anybody who's a podcaster or a music historian, so to speak. Yeah. The whole objective is for anything of a magnitude of study is for you to go back to whatever you had heard before and have a deeper understanding. That's why I always say respectfully, us 80 babies are the best, because you got to remember, we're in the middle. We had the future and we had what came before it. That's the reason why my uncle was able to explain 80s cool in the gang and 70s
cool in the gang. That's right.
And I love both.
Even though technically I'm a 70s baby, but carry on.
No. Here's the thing. Here's the running joke.
But I'm at the tail end though.
I was gonna say to you. Here's a running joke. The running joke is that and I've always said it's not even a joke, it's actually reality. If you were born in between 75 and 80, you are an 80s baby. You want to know why? And I'm going to tell you why. Because outside of your baby shenanigans, you don't start knowing shit really until you turn like 5.
That's true. That's very true. Like
real.
4 or 5, yeah.
So when in 81, I was like what, like 4 or 5 already. So my thing is just that I'm an 80s baby. I said because I wasn't, remember, I'm still, I don't know, I know what music is, but I'm still a baby. I don't have a deeper understanding of it yet.
That's real.
At 5, I did, because now I started putting it together. I'm like, oh, that's why I like the, okay. That's it. Me, you know, at 3, you're just mimicking what you're around. You're mimicking.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
5
Good
is
point.
like, I know what I'm doing now. I want to be like Michael, Mom. I want to, you know, that becomes that whole thing. So us 80s babies, we have the ability. That's what made it easier for me to get into Marvin, because what was Marvin's big hurrah and last hurrah? Sexual healing.
Sexual healing, yeah.
Which was played everywhere. But my Uncle Bobby, rest in peace, because that's all my uncle. My uncle loved all kinds of music, but his main 2, that's why he won the Apollo 13 times. His main 2 was Marvin and Smokey. So of course, in a lot of ways, Marvin and Bobby had similarities too, because the drug thing, my uncle was into that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The thing with that is that vocally, I was able to sit around my uncle so much because he would play every Marvin record, and that's how I would learn certain things.
Yeah.
What he would take from Marvin, what he would take from Smokey. He always would mix the 2, like he would try to blend 2 together. So thank God being an 80s baby, because had Sexual Healing not have been the big hit that it was in our generation,
you wouldn't have went back.
We wouldn't have been able to go back to see.
Right.
He would. I mean, he still would have been a legend, of course. He was already a hit in the 70s. But having a hit in the 80s for any artist from the 60s or 70s, as we all witnessed, I call it the Black Pop movement.
The music was everywhere. All
Aretha,
sounds.
Gladys, Tina, Luther Vandross, even though at that time Luther wasn't considered old, even though he was already putting in work in the 70s, but he didn't really hit until he did Never Too Much.
Right.
Whitney being the new girl on the scene, but because of her background, it was welcome. So you have that. Then you got the Pointer Sisters who revitalized their whole lineup and have bigger success. I'm writing a book called The Black Pop Movement about all of the artists that stayed relevant during the 80s. I'm writing a whole book about it.
Oh, that's
I already started on it because because nobody never talks about the fact, they sold out. I said, no, they didn't sell out. They got smart. They interjected who they were in those pop records. That's why
Elise always said, they had to eat. Like they had to eat.
That's why Aretha's album, the whole album, Another Night and Freeway of Love, because Aretha was smart. She said, well, if I'm going in this direction, I'm still going to, she was still Aretha. She wasn't doing anything that was so different that, this is kind of, Aretha is Aretha, damn it. Come on, man. That's Aretha. That's what I want to see. You know?
I mean, it wasn't like she was singing different. It's just the music in the background was different.
But Narada Michael Walden's a genius. You got to give it to him, because the thing is that he was smart enough to know, the same way how Marvin was smart enough to know, okay, if this is what we're going to be doing. I know that was a stretch for him to kind of sing over the new, doing Rockin' at the Midnight and the whole Midnight Love album. But my favorite song is Till Tomorrow. So, from that era.
Okay, yeah.
I like Chico's version too. But the thing is that it's really, Marvin was one of those artists that he knew the gift of what he had, but he had to be reminded so many times. So it's so sad that, unfortunately, even when he got the Grammy for it, and then, we didn't have him no more. So I always get sad about that, because it's almost just like, can you just imagine? See, Teddy Pendergrass, kudos to him as well, because even though Teddy got hurt, at least Teddy was able to experience what it felt like to have success in the 80s with his voice. Because honestly, if Marvin was still living, if he had longer time, Marvin would have went in the same direction eventually. He would have went in the same direction.
Oh yeah.
So You listening to Midnight Love, you could tell.
You could tell.
I was waiting to hear what he was going to do next. I'm like, I wonder what he would do. And then the stuff that he recorded for the Dream of a Lifetime record, which ended up being on various incarnations.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't feeling it. Look, and Jan, I wasn't feeling it either because I figured if you're going to do that, you might as well put out the original Source albums. Put them out. Don't just why put it on here where it doesn't make sense? That's why I was so excited. The week that I was with Janice and Norna for the Marvin Gaye stamp thing, and I was in Marvin's room, that's another conversation, which was surreal. We talked about that because You're the Man finally had got released, the complete album.
God, and my mom got me that on vinyl for my birthday. Oh,
thank you, Mom.
God.
That's so
dope. She knew I wanted it. So she saw it. She was like, I'm getting this for his birthday.
Because if that album
was supposed to come out after What's Going On.
If that album, see, here's the thing, you're so right. Because if that album would have came out before, it would have been still been. I mean, first of all, Piece of Clay and I'm Going Home, just those two songs alone. Look, I bought the box set for that reason alone, because when I first heard those records, I didn't realize that it was part of another record, the same way how In Our Lifetime was supposed to be the Lover Man record.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You ever saw the album cover when Marvin had that tight ass vest on? He had a Velcro vest. I said, Jan, I gotta ask you, sis, what kind of vest was that? Because he had the suit jacket over it, but it had this string with this. What? With a Velcro vest. I'm like, damn, what kind of vest is this he rocking? I didn't know. Look, it's the 70s, bro. Look.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. So now we are going to get into one of my favorite parts of the show.
Yeah.
That is, because we never know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
It's our word/song association. So today, since we are talking about Marvin Gaye, we are going to give you different Marvin Gaye albums. And you just tell us the first song or word or thought that comes to your mind when I say that album.
Go for it.
Okay. All right. We're going to start it off with What's Going On.
Prophetic. A Call to Arms. A record that if I can't even begin to imagine what pop music and R&B music too, because R&B is pop music if you think about it. It's popular. It's the culture. It's culture shift.
Louder for the people. I think the people didn't hear you. You said what?
R&B music is pop music.
Okay.
Because it's popular culture. Pop is short for popular. We forget that sometimes.
Okay.
Marvin, don't get me started.
It's your moment. I'm sorry, bro.
No.
I'm sorry.
I want people to hear this shit. Trust me, I'm with you. Yeah, prophetic, and I can't even begin to imagine what the musical landscape would be like if those first two lines weren't written. Y'all know the first two lines. Mother, mother, there's so many of you crying. Brother, brother, there's far too many of you dying. We got to find a way to bring some love in here today. You know, there have been many records made about peace and harmony and love beforehand.
Yeah.
But Marvin did it in such a way that 50, 40 something years later, all the corporate shows that I do, weddings and bar mitzvahs and different events and things that I perform at, that's the one song. When I sing those lines, they still go crazy. So that don't tell you nothing about the influence of Marvin Gaye and Motown as a whole. Berry Gordy's vision was very clear, even though he had to fight against his own artists sometimes and vice versa. The mission was very clear. Motown is as humble and as American as apple pie, and What's Going On proves that.
Facts.
All right. Next one is Let's Get It On.
Besides it having one of the most iconic intros of a record ever, because most pop records don't start with a bluesy B.B. King string guitar pull.
Nope.
So that's the musical aspect of it. Let's Get On, slang of this terminology of everything else, because Marvin answered his own question, and it really was a rebuttal to Berry. Now that y'all know what's going on,
now it's
let's
time
get it on. And Marvin's sexual Encompass and Desire caught so carefully on Wax, especially when he said things like, do you know the meaning of being sanctified, showing you that sex is very spiritual. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm a Scorpio, I don't have a choice. So sex is very spiritual. So
I mean,
on that, yeah, so you know, I mean, of course, and I definitely probably, I can't even call it, it's hard to call the ballad because it moves so,
it's still got a bounce.
It's still, it has a bounce, but
yes,
definitely pinnacle Marvin song without question, can't be denied.
Ooh.
all right. I Want You.
Whoa, I give you all the love I want in return, sweet darling. Just that part right there.
You better give me vocals.
You already know, bro. That song.
Everybody come on here and get to singing.
Yes, they do.
I love it. I love it.
Look, I'll put it like this. I can't be on here talking all this shit about music and not show a little bit of why I say what I say. But you know, the whole thing.
Y'all. That's that, y'all.
I'm just saying more so because you know some people get on shows and don't do. And I'm not the person that I want to sing. I'm not that guy. But my thing is that when I get moved and I'm inspired, because when you said word association. So think about it. That song makes you, the passion in his vocals on. That's why I had to give you that one line because he's taking his time with it, as if she was in the bed with him.
Yep.
Or just that it's too bad that for you to say you don't want me now, but I gotta change your mind some way, somehow. That shit, I mean, it still gives me chill, even when I sing it. I do it in my show sometimes, but it's the whole synergy of that record. I mean, the whole album, but the song itself is one of the most passionate pleas for a love I've ever heard on Wax. Definitely definitely in my top 10 of Marvin's iconic songs that everybody knows firsthand, without question.
All right. Midnight Love.
Oh, well, we just spoke about this. The Last Hurrah. I mean, the direction that I think that Marvin was definitely going to, go in without sacrificing who he was vocally. The whole album in general, even to the songs itself, the way he brought all that energy in there over that hotbed of a song, of the production of it, it's one of those songs where a last true testament to his genius. Yep. Can't deny that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I had to call an audible because I was going to say Trouble Man, but we went very in depth into that. So I'm gonna come from left for y'all. You're All I Need.
No, you didn't. You threw me for what? Girl, I'm with you, and you throw me for a girl.
Well,
she bring it to you every week.
Without question,
yeah.
If not the top, one of the greatest, or at least top 3. Keyword, top 3, not 5. 3. Strong positioning.
I hear that.
And shout out to my songwriting idols.
You bet. I was about to say, is he gonna go there? Is he gonna?
It's no way in hell that we're gonna talk about anything Motown associated, especially Marvin Duet's years.
Yes.
And not mention the everlasting magic.
Yes.
Of Ashford and motherfucking Simpson. Sorry, I curse, Auntie, but still.
Oh no, listen.
Yeah, and I'm also on the Valerie in case she sees this, but it's just I get emotional. That's family. So for me, it's like to write those lyrics that were really for them, because even remember they weren't even a couple when they wrote that. They were still not. Yep. So to that type of energy in a record, and Marvin and Tammy translated it. It is without question, like I said, if not the top greatest duet of not only the Motown catalog, but in hindsight, probably one of the greatest duet songs ever. And people may cite, other pop songs from other white artists, even some few black artists, but to me, none has been done over as much, has been covered as much.
Nope.
I mean, look, Method Man and Mary J. Fucking. I mean, that's another. You know. So that's. If that don't tell you nothing about the everlasting effect of that particular song, I give up. Next word association. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
That was the last
I get emotional because you that was a good left one you put.
Yeah, that was a good one, sis. Yeah.
Woo!
You threw a curve at that one.
I love this show so much. Oh my God.
I do it every time. Jay, I never know what I'm gonna say.
Never know. I think that because again, you see, Law, she was like, "Yo, we gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you these." Me not thinking she can also go to the 60s too if she wants to. I'm thinking she was gonna stay in the 70s. She going.
Everybody can't do that. That's why I fucking love y'all, man. Everybody can't do that. R&B representative. Everybody cannot do this. I love this, man. I really love this.
Yes. So please tell us what you have going on, or just anything you want to say. Just the floor is yours now.
Okay. Well, let me get this out the way first. As everybody knows, you can follow me on Instagram at Planet 12 Law. On Twitter, same thing, at Planet 12 Law. And on Facebook, if you want to get the fullness of a lot of these kind of discussions and things that me and my brother and sister were talking about, and fully uncensored, even though I'm uncensored on here too. Facebook.com/LawPlanet12. As everybody pretty much knows, my artistry level in terms of everything, I have 3 albums out right now that you can go get. Planet 12 Syndrome, the Grammy nominated, critically acclaimed Planet 12 Syndrome. Put that out there. The Planet 12 live sessions, and the latest one, Mega Dope Maniac, which has been doing very well for us in the last few months or so. You can get that on all digital platforms, iTunes, Spotify. Just make sure you type in Law *A*W. The Planet 12 Syndrome, the Planet 12 live sessions, and Mega Dope Maniac, all available on everything. Last but not least, let me just give y'all some flowers real quick, y'all. I'm gonna get emotional real quick.
Don't do this.
I have to, because it's really, it's sincere, man. Like, because because we jokes, we clown so much.
Yeah.
We laugh and we be pointing out shit that other people don't hear. So it's like, I feel listen, you be somewhere, you gotta bring it. But y'all guys proved to me, I didn't even say prove to me, y'all pretty much put a stamp on everything that I've been fighting for in this business for the last 20-something years. Because you got to remember, and of course I got a few years on y'all. So in some cases, and even in the experience, and it doesn't even matter anyway. It doesn't matter the experience you have, but it's what you do with that experience. It's what have you achieved in that time to make the experience more fruitful. So when people listen, the respect that y'all show me on that level, it's first of all, it's beyond humbling and honoring on every level. And I thank y'all guys so much. But shows like yours, Grown Folks Music, that's my guys over there too. Yeah. All the people who we aligned with that are on the same mission. This is why when I gave you that shout out last year, and then I put you, my boy Rashawn, my boy Derek, who else? Jarrell, and I put all the beyond that, when I put all the guys, because I wanted people to understand we're in this fucking shit together, man. Because what we've seen is the lack, I ain't gonna say respect, because they respect it, but if there's not guys like me and you in the building to really have these kind of conversations and to put the spotlight on the albums and the producers, the songwriters, the musicians, not just the artists. If they didn't have, if I didn't have my podcast, I was doing it before. I was doing it way before I started the podcast. But you were already on the front lines in that medium. I said, this is hope right here. It makes me feel good to know, besides my own fan base, I'm not just talking this shit to be talking it. Because I came across a lot of opposition with certain people. Now, of course, as y'all know, I don't give a fuck. Nobody can move me. But the thing is for me, it's like when I see y'all guys moving up in the ranks on your own terms and to see people responding Because a lot of people, when I came in there for the count, a lot of people started following me just based upon what I was saying. I wasn't even looking for that. I was tuning into the shows. I finally had some time. You know, usually I'm always so I had a chance to finally sit down and listen and watch the show. So it's just, you know, I love y'all guys so much, and I just want to thank you and keep y'all encouraged on every level, because of the fact that if we don't stay on this front line with our shit, the bullshit will continue to happen. Because see, back then we did have an excuse. I'm gonna keep it honest. We did have an excuse because record labels were in control mostly. Mm-hmm. And then people weren't speaking enough about the knowledge and the impact. That's why if you notice, I never get mad when people be like, I didn't know that. I said, you'd be very surprised, because as much as people give me the whole laws of the story, you know, I said, I only take that credit only because of the work that I put in. Don't get it twisted. But as Marvin Gaye said, life is for learning. Life is forever learning. As much as I know, I learn something new about my craft every day. And even with all that I know on a historian level, things that we all may know together, if we've done the homework, if we've read, and then of course in my case, because having a legend and several legends in my family, that's why I learned most of the stuff without reading a book, because I had the guys who were there. My grandfather toured with Etta James. So I know when he saw the Cadillac movie, before he passed away, when he saw the Cadillac movie, he was like, nah, they toned Etta down. She cursed way more than that. I said, I knew. So my thing was just that, thank God for social media, but thank God for y'all guys. Y'all are in my top two in terms of where I would send people, for people that want even more additional information of things that I may not even get a chance to touch, depending on if we start touring again. Because I don't even know, like I've noticed, I got 5 episodes coming up, and they all have to be spread out, because as you know, the kid is back doing shows now. Like now they're gonna open the gate back up. So now it's like, okay, and then I'm producing too, and at the same time, as well as getting all these other projects ready. So I just want to take this time again, man, to not only thank y'all for having me here, but I love y'all guys so much. Y'all really are my brothers and sisters. Like I adopt that in the sense of, to know it feels good to be in a room with people that know, like, you know, and then we have the in-depth studies where we're able to be subjective and then still be factual, even while the opinion is being given at the same time. And I've always done that because I got tired of people speaking for us that don't really know music. I'm gonna keep it honest with you. This is when I see you with the Red Cup and the dedication to Mary J. Blige, I'm gonna share something with you. This is why I love you in this thing. Yeah. Because I'm not gonna say no names. You probably seen a few of these people on my page, but let's just put it this way. I got tired of people trying to downplay the music of our generation in terms of what we know to be R&B, and especially when it came to hip hop, because they always try to write Mary J, Escape, SWV. They're like, oh, that's young. I'm like, excuse you? I said, first of all, be glad that there's a continuation of what the Emotions and all those other female groups that you love too. This is our generation. We respect your generation, especially me. Look, I grew up. You see my mother sing. My mother's in a Motown review. You know, I grew up in it. So my thing is just that I'm able to decipher the fact that the Jones Girls original, Who Can I Run To? I love Escape version too. I said, because Escape didn't stray too far away from the original. I said they were smart when they're smarter choices. Yep. And it proves it, because a lot of girls were sitting there like, let's see if they can do this song right. Because a lot of the older ones like, they better not mess this song. And I understood that. They better not mess this song up. Oh yeah. And guess what? They didn't. They had a bigger hit with it. So here's my thing. Yeah. It's because of mediums like this that we're able to have that kind of a discussion and still champion, because y'all don't discriminate. We talk about all the eras, even though we make sure that our era gets a spotlight. It's important, because if I didn't start my page, 90s Kids and 80s Babies, if I didn't do that and the podcast, these dudes like, well, you know, the 80s, excuse you? No. I don't just, no, seriously, because I'm like, I wasn't born in the 70s I was born in the 70s. I wasn't born in the 60s or the 50s. And if you listen to the harmonies on my music, you've heard my harmonies, you'd be like, yo, you know.
Like, yeah, like give me that soul music. That
my
music
whole influence is doo-wop. My grandfather's best friends are the coasters in the Olympics. They used to be at our house.
Wow.
I grew up under it. Maxine Brown and Dionne Warwick used to roll together. My grandfather was Maxine Brown's music director. You can't tell me shit about the 60s.
That's why I need people to listen to your live sessions, for real. For real, because them joints, like, for real, like, they really need to listen to that. Like, you know, my joint off that is Good Stuff Back.
Ooh. You know, it's my grandfather's song, right?
Really?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Like,
so portrait
I love that record. Like, I listen to your live more than I do the regular. Because getting it in on there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, that's why I was like, please, people, y'all have to go listen. Get the Planet 12 live sessions, please.
That's one of my favorite albums too. And that was on the cusp to keep everybody busy for the third album, because I really was trying to balance everything that I was doing in the studio already. And then here's the funny thing. I can't speak about all that we got coming before this year is over.
But you already working with your Minnesota people, so I already know. Please, that little that y'all gave us, you know what I'm saying? That little piece that y'all gave us, I know it's more. So, and Jimmy Jam watches us for real. So believe
I know.
Please. I know for a fact that y'all got more than what y'all gave us. I'll
put it this way.
Jimmy Jam told me happy birthday.
Oh, okay. Look, that's Uncle Forever.
And so her vinyl collection was ridiculous.
I'll tell you like this. I mean, you pretty much said it already, but I'll just kind of reiterate it for those who are watching.
Yes.
You gotta remember, I have over 400 songs recorded already.
Mm-hmm.
See, this pandemic, I've been very busy. It's between the clothing line and the podcast and just in the studio every day. So I promise you this, on that side of the fence with my Minnesota uncles, I put it to you like this. There's a whole lot of shit getting ready to come before the year is over. Not just from the Planet Soul perspective, but also with a certain member of Princess Band, where an EP is now being created as we speak. I'm not going to say who it is.
Oh, you don't have to.
Do I? No one.
No, you don't have to.
Don't give it to him yet. But you understand this shit? It's about to be real ignorant in the next 5 or 6 months. That's why when people stay tuned, everything, because you know how I do. Like I'll spring out and you'll hear something, because sometimes we just get new number. We just got nominated for 2 Independent Blues Awards. The album that me and my mother did for my grandfather.
Yeah.
So just what I didn't see that coming, bro. I promise you. There was no submission or anything. We just got, it's like, hey, y'all been nominated. I'm like, what? And it's a song that I sing lead on, which is interesting. But I really, you know, God is awesome. God is awesome. When you do right and you treat people right, that's success. Integrity, character, no sucker shit. I didn't have to kiss nobody's ass in this industry. So the thing for me was that these things can happen. So that's why I want to give y'all the flowers, in addition to just keeping y'all encouraged and telling y'all, stay true to the format of everything that y'all do, because y'all do it so well. And we again, you know, even if more shows like this come from any kind of caliber, it's just good to know that there's other templates that they can follow, and you're one of them. It's almost like I would tell people, I'm like, go watch what they're doing. You got to be like them, but just understand that, see where they're going with certain things. So it's just, I just wanted to give that to y'all, man. I love y'all guys so much. Thank you so
much. And we appreciate you. That was all up in here.
All up in here.
but
I have
thank you. Yes. But thank you for hanging out with us. We hope you come back soon and we find something else to
we gotta get another album to talk about with you.
Hey.
I kind of got some ideas of where I want to go now, just from hearing you talk. So
whenever you're, all you gotta do is tell me. I'll make it happen. In between, look,
I gotta get you before you go on that tour.
Look, listen, ain't no superstar shit here. If I'm in the hotel room, we'll do it. Like something. You know how you see, bro. You see me do my shit.
Yes,
it's almost like
you have.
I don't do that superstar bullshit. You know that already. Like for me, it's almost like a thing. Now on stage I do, but on stage, on Gotta give him a show. Gotta give him a show. But the thing is that off stage, look, I don't care because I'm not going to say no names, but let's just say that a lot of legends are asking people to give me my flowers. But here's the kicker. Some of these same legends that cry about that on here, but yet their team is not on point. Because if you really want people to give you your flowers and you got somebody like me trying to get you on the show so I can salute you and give you the flowers, and your team is telling me some bullshit about, oh, well, how many followers you have? Go look at the page. I'm first of all, shouldn't matter, but since you want to know, I have over 10,000 and they're all legal. I didn't buy any of these shits.
Yeah.
So,
and it ain't even about the number, it's about the loyalty of, I'd rather have a loyal 100 than a random.
Thank you.
3,000.
That's
hello.
I have to say that shit because it's again, out of respect, I'm not going to say who these people were, but let's just say some legends made it very tough for me to bring them on the show. Of course, the ones you see are the ones I'm close to, I know already, and they would agree to do it. And then ones just want to play this Ring Around the Rosy game. I'm just sitting there saying to myself, be glad that there are mediums that even want to bring you on to make sure that you get your father. When you start having your team answer for you and you turn against the people who are trying to give you that platform,
they're trying to
celebrate it and recognize you're shooting yourself in the foot and fucking up things for yourself.
That's right.
And that is sad because some people will be like, no, I ain't gonna say no name, but mother even tried to, I ain't gonna say who it was, I'll probably tell you on camera, but somebody tried to charge me for an interview. I said,
no.
Who does that? I'm like, that's how desperate we've gotten during the pandemic? Like, wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Okay, I guess you won't be on my show. I'm sorry. I can't. That would have been, think about it. That would be like somebody like me, and considering my caliber of what I've done. Like, you gotta, that's why I say I don't believe in that superstar shit. No, contact me. Fuck all that other shit. I don't, no, I'll let you know what it is. I'm like, let me check my schedule. Let me see what's up. And that's because, I do have a crazy schedule. But the thing is that all that other shit about, well, I gotta have and then a lot of times they'd be like, they're trying to check to see if they want to answer this, or not even so much answer this, because more so is more, and I understand the protection of your client. I get that part. But if I put a poster of who I've had on who you had on the show, here you go. Here's the names. If that don't tell you, I don't know what else to tell you. More so, if I'm explaining it to you, why am I jumping through a hurdle to get to that point? If you're a publicist, right? If I'm giving you the notion of me wanting them on this show, I would just rather you tell me. I would just rather you tell me, like, few people like, oh, they're not doing interviews right now. Okay, no problem. I get it. No problem. That's cool. Yeah. But all that other shit, I'm just questions and all kinds. I'm talking about not general questions. I'm not talking about like how long the show is on. I'm talking about like how many followers you have. Well, and I'm like, what does that have to do with me bringing them on the show?
Like,
I'm not
like, how about you hop on and it'll be mutually beneficial. We're helping each other.
Well, thank you. That's first of all, that's how I've always thought. I'm like, first of all, and that's the problem with our fucking, to this day, 20, you would think in 30 years it would change. It hasn't changed. 30 years, it's still the same clout bullshit. Like, it's almost like we still playing that game. And then you wonder why I shout out Lionel Richie so much. Because here's a man that's pinnacle above damn near mostly everybody we talk about. And yet, me and Lionel speak almost every other 2 weeks. He calls me out of thin air. What's up, bro? You good? Just checking on me. I'm like, I don't owe him nothing. You don't owe me nothing. Support is support. When people really love what you do and what you're about, it should be real easy to say, hey, Lord, can you post? Sure, absolutely. Anything y'all need me to post, let me know. I'll do it. I don't have that's not y'all family now, so I don't know. Tag me in it. Tag me in it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes. Tag me. I don't give a shit. Whatever it is, tag me in that motherfucker. I do not care. I love y'all guys. This is what brotherhood and sisterhood is about. People talk it, but we live it. We live this shit.
So,
okay, I'm done preaching. I'm good.
No, you're fine. But yes. Thank you again. And
thank you so much, big bro. Thank you.
Yes. And thank you for all the viewers who, always shouting us out and sharing and watching and just enjoying. We love y'all. And we will catch y'all on the next episode of Catch That.